Next up, we will take up House Bill 5344 by Representative Corvreen. This bill would grant a right of entry for licensed professional land surveyors performing surveying services for a landowner to enter upon or cross any lands, airspace, or water resource, whether publicly or privately owned, necessary to perform services. Representative Corvreen.
Hi. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members of the committee. I appreciate your time tonight. This bill comes to me from a constituent who's a member of the Society of Professional Land Surveyors, and this bill would grant the right of entry for licensed professional land surveyors performing surveying services for landowners to enter upon or cross any lands, airspace, or water resource, whether publicly or privately owned. 26 other states have this, and right now there's no common law right for surveyors to enter property. So surveyors in our state, if they don't have express permission from property owners, they cannot perform their jobs. So it seems pretty simple to me, I hope. Our surveyors are gather of facts, and they are asked to go out by various commissions, other property owners to survey property lines, and they may have to step over the boundary. This does not give them the right to go into any buildings, and written notice has to be provided to the property owner. And I do believe that my constituent, Mark Thayer, is on the line to testify tonight, I hope. And he could answer more questions.
Yeah, we do have a couple of witnesses. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, thank you, Representative.
Sure.
Next up, we'll go to Mark Thayer. We'll get him on the line. Mr. Thayer, you're before the House Corporations Committee. You may proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Hello?
We can hear you. You may proceed.
Yes. As I think it's very straightforward. The representative presented our case pretty well. We act just as a fact, and we are encumbered by various municipal and state regulatory agencies to gather those facts. Those may not be on our client's property, such as wells, buildings, wetlands, coastal features. And we would like to merely codify what essentially is we are already doing, but we don't want to have the liability should some person take a position. We need to get the facts. There's also the matter of liability on our part. If a surveyor is somehow found, somehow arrested for trespass, that becomes a rather significant impact on his ability to operate. When he renews his license, one of the questions is, have you ever been arrested? And being arrested to do your job, as it were, could prevent you from actually practicing in the future. So there's that part.
Mr. Thayer, have you ever encountered any issues?
I have. I've been asked to leave a number of times. Not a number. Over the course of my 40-plus years as a surveyor, it probably happened, I would say, half a dozen times, though I practice mostly in the world of construction, large-scale construction projects. The original position paper authored by Mr. Haywood, he was unable to attend. He would have a better grasp on the brief than I would. We're just looking for some protection. We understand it's our responsibility to provide notice, but if we can't do our job, projects get delayed, and those could be as simple as a house construction, it could be a large-scale project. Can't complete the survey, you can't certify to your plan, and it slows things down to courts and police details to escort onto a property. And it can be done, but not without a lot of delay.
Okay. I believe there's a question from Speaker Pro Tem Kennedy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My concern with the legislation is the fact that this opens it up not only to state property, but also private property. Specifically, if a surveyor were to come on to my property, it's very icy out there right now, they slip and fall. It occurred on my property. I can be sued because of this person came onto my property without my permission. I could be sued for that. What remedy do I have as a private property owner? Let's say you're a surveyor who, there is wetlands on the property. You slip in the wetlands and twist your ankle or break your leg. You can come back and sue me. You weren't supposed to be on my property, but you came on my property. What provisions are in the law to protect the private property owner?
As I read the law, if you are on the without permission or without the surveyor having provided notice, then you are in fact in trespass. So I think your concerns are addressed in the bill. I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak to liability issues and how those would be perceived in a court of law. But in as much as we want the right, we also have to take on responsibility of it. There is language within the bill that protects the property from just the situation that you described.
Okay, thank you. Are there any, with Chippendale?
Thank you, Chair. And to my esteemed colleague, Rep. Kennedy, there is indemnification language on page 2, starting at somewhere around line 14, to exactly address the concern that you raise. It does indemnify the homeowner from suit if there were any accident. I'm frankly surprised that this is non-existing law right now, because some of our towns obviously are very old, and the towns I represent certainly are. And if you ever look at the land records in the Foster Town Hall, it's the spike in the stump in the southwest corner of Rose Hopkins Farm. Honest to God, that's what the legal descriptions are. And when a surveyor is hired, oftentimes these things are from the 1800s or even earlier. When a surveyor is hired and they go out there with GPS and everything else, they realize that the stump at Mrs. Hopkins Corner was actually a quarter of a mile somewhere else. And it's necessary for them to literally wander around on several pieces of land. Oftentimes when you're trying to find a corner, you could be on 4 or 5 different pieces of land and they wouldn't know that. So I'm frankly surprised we don't have this. I think we're exposing this profession, which is a profession already under stress due to the fact that the average age of land surveyors, as I understand, is increasing dramatically, which means we don't have a lot of young kids coming into the profession. So I think we really do owe a duty of if not passing this bill, certainly modifying it to give them what they need so that they cannot be trespassed, shot, argued with, what have you. So I think this is a fantastic bill. Thank you.
Thank you. So with Chippendale, I do agree that there is a section about assuming responsibility for incurring liability for any injury to any surveyor or property caused by an act or omission of that person. But the way it's written, it says, except for willful or malicious failure to guard or warn against a known dangerous condition. So that kind of opens it up that there may potentially be some liability in that regard.
Thank you, Chairman, because that's exactly what I saw.
As an attorney, I can definitely see an attorney poking some holes in that from a liability perspective. But Are there any additional questions? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Next up, we will take up Beth Dwyer. Ms. Dwyer, you are on the line. You're before the House Committee on Corporations. You may proceed.
Thank
Well, we could hear you there for a second.
Great, thank you. This is Beth Dwyer from the Department of Business Regulation. The Board of Land Professional Surveyors jurisdiction. Just wanted the committee to know that we have reviewed the bill for legislation, as does, and that this bill is similar to other existing states.
You keep going in and out. I apologize. I'm not sure if it's an internet connection.
Great, thank you. Okay. This is Beth Dwyer from the Department of Business Regulation. The Board of Land Professional Surveyors.
Do you have the background on?
I'll take it off now, yes.
Okay, we could hear it in the background, that's why. Can you just,
Okay.
can you repeat your testimony? I know you said you're from the Department of Business Regulation, but if you could continue after that.
Sure. We regulate, we are part of the Board of Professional Land Surveyors is under DBR, and we just wanted the committee to know that we've reviewed the bill. We support the legislation. The board supports the legislation, and it does appear to be similar to existing laws in other states. And if there are any questions, I can bring them back to the Professional Land Surveyors Board.
If you could just say how many states it is similar to, this legislation, roughly.
I don't have that specific information, but I'll find it out and submit it to the committee.
Yeah, if you can get that, that would be great. I really appreciate. Oh, I believe Representative Courtney may have the answer to that.
There's 26 other states that have it. Connecticut and Massachusetts have it, and the language in this bill is from the state of Maine.
Okay, if you could get the language from maybe Connecticut and Massachusetts, I'd be interested in
work on
taking a
that.
look at that.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Are there any questions for Beth Dwyer? Speaker Pro Tem Kennedy.
Yes. Beth, I don't know if you saw or could hear earlier that discussion about the legal protections for the property owner. Is there anything else that we can do to try to tighten up that language to protect the private property owner in case an injury does occur on the site and has nothing to do with the private property owner other than the fact that basically the land surveyor came onto their property, and despite the notice provisions, as the chairman pointed out, there seems to be a gaping hole in that section dealing with liability.
Yes, so I did hear your comments. I have both the computer open and the other. And let us do a little bit of research and see if we can give you some alternatives from other states.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions for the witness? Hearing none, thank you very much. We did receive testimony, written testimony in favor from Matthew Sullivan, and that concludes the testimony on House Bill 5344. We may, hold on one moment.
There was also testimony against the bill from the ACLU and the Narragansett Bay Commission.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Charlie. And that concludes the testimony on that bill.